In this episode of RGN Interviews in Lockdown, I'm joined by Steppe Gold Executive VP and Director, Anil Waresh. So, Anil, you've previously talked about how Steppe considers itself a Mongolian company that's listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Why has it been important to really build an in-country company in a jurisdiction like Mongolia?
Sure. Thanks, Jacob, and thanks for having me. Well, I think it's important in any jurisdiction that you do business, not just Mongolia, whether it's West Africa to Northern Ontario to Peru. You should be as local as possible in any jurisdiction you do business. You need to show both locals and provincially and federally that there's a benefit to that country or economy and obviously the locals. And so that's very important because you get the buy-in. The more local you are creating jobs. So directly and indirectly you create jobs, tax revenue, and you educate people. You can convert unskilled labor into skilled labor force, permanent labor force, which we've done at Steppe, obviously. So that's very important. So it's when people say CSR or ESG or social license, that's certainly an important factor. That's something that, of course, we made that decision early on when we set up the company to do business this way, and we're certainly seeing the benefits. So we are getting the buy-in from the local, the village level to the province to the government level, and by doing these things properly, you get their support. In fact, with Steppe Gold, we have government support. We have capital. The government has actually provided us to get into production last year, which is the first time they've ever provided capital to mining companies through their sovereign fund. So certainly we're seeing the benefits of being local when you're getting the buy-in. Second, I think most importantly, in times like now, unfortunately, we're still talking about this global pandemic that still exists. There's travel restrictions that exist. If we ran our company with expats, we probably wouldn't be in business today because we wouldn't be in production. We wouldn't have bought our production online at the toughest time last year during the global pandemic if we relied on expats to run our business. So we've seen the benefit, I guess, twofold. One, from the buy-in and the support we're getting in country, which means no one's going to stop you from growing. Second is we were able to operate with having a local staff. We're able to operate without depending on expats, and that's allowed us to bring production online, become a producer, generate our own cash flow, and strengthen our balance sheet. So I would say that, it's served its purpose in many ways.
Yeah, of course. And in terms of giving back, can you give some examples of Steppe's work supporting local communities and also other ESR initiatives? You mentioned ESR, of course, so particularly on the E side of things, environmental.
Yep, sure. So I'll start with the environmental side. We are running a heap leach operation as our phase 1 mine. It's got sometimes some negative connotation or perception, which, you have some hazardous materials and chemicals you're using to extract the gold, but you can do it safely, you can do it properly. So from the environmental side, I think from day one, we bought this asset from Centerra, who's obviously a multi-billion-dollar global producer. They did a great job on the permitting, licensing, and the environmental work. We added to that by reviewing all of their work and doing new environmental approvals and work in country so that the government can see that the operation we're building meets global environmental standards, and certainly we've done that. We actually had an environmental inspection done by the government. The government went to, I believe, all the operating mines over the last 12 to 18 months, and we received over 93% score. So a very strong score, I think the highest that I'm aware of out of any of the producers out there. So certainly we're doing things properly. We're doing up to Western standards. Sometimes you can cut corners in these emerging markets and jurisdictions, and we don't do that. We always want quality, safety. Our people come first. And that goes with how you protect the chemicals that you use and prevent any spillage or in that case to keeping everyone safe on site and all that good stuff. On the social side, again, right from inception of the company, before we broke ground on building our first mine, which is now in production, we went around to all the locals and told them what we're doing, in what manner we're doing. And of course, from there, you saw a lot of job applicants coming from within the region. In fact, I think we're over 65% from within that province, or in Dornod province, where we're building, we built our first mine and we're operating, come from that local province. So that's a good win. I mean, 99% of our staff are Mongolian, but 60+%, 65% from within that region. So that's been a big win to show that we're getting buy-in and people are moving closer to our mind to get these jobs. There's a lot of jobs for a couple hundred people today and probably double that in the next couple of years. So that's certainly been beneficial. We set up scholarship programs for both people in the region around our mine site, but also, employees, kids of our employees, that kind of stuff. So we set up 85 scholarship programs for young kids in the region to get to go to university, pay for the first university. And we've done that, I think, for a few years now, and we might be over 185 students, my understanding. So that's from the social side of the education. We've sponsored athletes in country, and we set up meat and dairy co-op locally as well. So we help local farmers and cattle ranching, if you want to call it that, in that manner, build up their supply and selling all of that to us locally. So we procure locally and help them establish that meat and dairy co-op. So from the social side, I think there's a few things we've certainly brought to the table in short order, and as we grow, we continue to generate cash flow. There'll be a trickle down effect. We've donated masks and educated people in the region during this COVID crisis. So we're doing what we can, and that'll only grow as we have more cash flow and availability to better their lives permanently for those in the country.
Yeah. Now going back to 1 year ago, when the company reached commercial production at the Ato gold mine, how highly regarded was this achievement, given the mine was built in 14 months with a $20 million capex?
I would say it was a big success. As you may know, not many people get to build mines successfully and bring them online successfully globally. It doesn't matter where you are and what pandemic or not, lack of it. Very, very rarely do mines get built on a percentage basis of all the junior mining companies out there. So that was a big win. And then we were able to showcase that in short order, with the support of the country, we built our first mine in 14 months, and we brought it online at the toughest time probably possible. So I guess we've always had an uphill battle in this company, given we're an emerging market. We had to manage perceptions and risk, what people thought were risk, but we obviously shown that it isn't. We built a mine, we brought it online successfully. Where's that risk that people were worried about? So certainly a big achievement in country. We're certainly looked at in country as one of the go-to companies to say, listen, Steppe Gold has done it right. They've invested, they've built, they've employed. Now we're a taxpayer. Now we're a royalty payer. Now we're an employer. And most importantly, we're a producer. And we're producing all this gold and silver that's sold domestically to the central bank or the approved banks. So we're actually helping the country increase their gold reserves and their currency as and when needed with the FX. They're able to convert it. So it was a big win for us at a very tough time. And I think that's important to highlight, that we had the support from the government. So last April, when the country was closed, the borders were closed with Russia and China, it was virtually impossible to bring supplies into the country, and yet we were able to do so because mining is an essential service in country. It's the biggest GDP driver, employer, and taxpayer in country. So we've certainly, I guess, been in the spotlight, not just internationally, but more importantly domestically. The government has always, pointed towards us as a poster child of how you should do business, do it properly, and I think that's how you can see us grow exponentially in the coming years. So yeah, certainly a big achievement, and we're gonna, a year later, essentially about a year later, we're gonna mark that achievement with a listing domestically as well. So we're now listing on the Mongolian Stock Exchange, probably about a month's time. We're going through the process right now as an IPO, so it'll be a dual listing with Toronto Stock Exchange, and another win for us, because it allows the domestic community to now be able to trade our shares, acquire our shares, own a piece of an asset in their own backyard. Up to now, it's been very hard. We do have a large shareholder base already. These are, obviously larger investors, high net worth investors, but now we can have a much bigger retail presence in country.
Yeah, and we've already seen some growth earlier this year when Steppe announced that it had doubled the resource at Ato following sustained drilling. So
yep.
In what areas have you been able to add resources, and how pleased are you with the tonnages, the grades from those results?
Yeah, listen, so when we were building our mine, we were capital constrained. So a lot of our resources, most of our resources went into building the mine and getting established to get the cash flow. So with, I would say, minimal exploration spend or drilling spend in the last, call it 24 months, 24 to 36 months, I guess now, we focused on infill and extensional drilling. So we've had a lot of success. These 4 deposits are still open at depth, only been drilled down to about 400 meters. So with minimal focus, I would say, outside of the resource base today, we were able to double our resource from 1.2 million ounces where we started in 2017 to over 2.45 million ounces. It's a great achievement. We doubled our resource while building a mine. That resource, doubling our resource, most of that material is for our phase 2 expansion. So it backs up our expansion, which we're starting this summer, and still gives us a great base. You have a producing asset from surface with 2 million ounces below, only down to 400 meters, that can continue to grow. So it sets the stage, we've set the stage for a much bigger company, a bigger resource base in the coming years. And we think we could increase that again by hopefully multiples in the years ahead through real exploration. So that's something we actually really haven't had a chance to do on this property. We haven't been able to do any, at depth extensions beyond ATO4 and Munk. So ATO4, we doubled the resource on ATO4 alone. So we proved the existing model wrong that when we acquired this asset and have doubled the resource. So that's been a big win. There certainly is higher grade pockets within these resources. We're seeing that today. As we're in production, our grade reconciliation is 50 to 100% higher than the modeled life of mine grade on the oxide mine that's in production. So we do expect that to follow through on the phase 2 and on the larger resources. So we can, that's kind of a conservative number, I guess, is what I'm saying on the 2.45 million ounces. It's not accounting for the higher grade pockets that we won't see until we're in real time, because the resource model is based on 30 by 30 spacing. And in real time with grade control drilling, you're at 5 at 5. So you then capture those higher grade pockets that we've obviously haven't captured in phase 1 in the oxides. And I don't think will be captured in phase 2 until we're actually in production, because, Mung, for example, the new deposit that's also added 400,000 ounces. We put a maiden resource on this Mung discovery, which was Mung means silver in Mongolia. That's 425,000 ounces, new ounces that were never on any technical report until now, until this year. That's still open at depth and only being drilled down to 400 meters. Some of the intercepts on Mung were 46 meters at 15 grams gold and 82 silver. It's a higher grade, fresh rock deposit that, again, we're not capturing some of these higher grade veins that exist within it. So it's a lot of upside that I guess it's a conservative number that can continue to grow. And this year, like I said, we're focusing on extending at depth, but also along trend and stepping out from this deposit by hopefully 1, 2, and 5 kilometers. So a lot of opportunity. We barely scratched the surface, I guess, is what I'm saying in a very long way.
There's a lot to digest there, Anil, but there's more as well, because in terms of exploration outside the ATO project, when is the drilling scheduled to start at those 4 prospects contained in the UK project?
Yes, so UK is a very exciting project of ours that we acquired also in 2017 when we bought the first asset, ATO, from Centerra. It's just, again, something we've been wanting to drill since then. We're capital constrained. Our focus had to be on one thing only, building our first mine, generating our own cash flow. So finally this year, we can actually get down to drilling. So I would say in a matter of weeks, we're probably looking at about, I would say latest end of May, considering if there's no lockdowns, but it could be 2 to 3 weeks from now, mid-May to end May. We already have a drill rig in the province ready to go. And so we'll start drilling hopefully at some point in May. That's a very exciting prospect, 14,400 hectares, never been drilled by anyone, but been drilled all around. So you have RGN Resources that have had some great success in the last few years. They've delineated over 1 million ounces between their 2 licenses that adjoin ours, and we're in the middle. So we've done the trenching, we've done the IP magnetic soil sampling, and now they're drill ready. So we'll get down to Milky Way first, prospect first, and I'll start in May, I guess, at some point. So that's a very exciting exploration results that could come from that project, where we're not getting any value for today. But we've had success all around. So certainly very exciting opportunity to have an exploration. And on the back of success, maybe it makes sense to mobilize a second drill rig down there, or not, or at least we'll have 1 drill rig down there for the rest of the year. So you can probably get 10,000 meters down there easily. And on the on success, maybe we double that to 20,000 meters. And that's the same that goes for ATO and Mung. Later, after UK starts, we'll get back to ATO and Mung. We have some targets identified. We're, with the resource and the now 3D modeling, we're identifying new targets. And probably June, July timeframe, we'll get back to drilling as well, alongside UK drilling ATO and Mung, where we'll have again 1 or 2 drill rigs mobilized by early summer. And that's a nice little exploration story with producing and being self-funded along the way. So we don't, on back of results, we don't have to go back to the market to raise capital. That's the beauty in this.
Of course. And with some of the hits at UK already showing additional silver, lead, copper, and zinc mineralization, to what extent does the company see this project as an opportunity to maybe diversify its commodity and revenue bases?
Sure. Yeah. So you are seeing obviously the silver, the high silver hits. Then you're seeing the base metals through copper, lead. So certainly there's opportunity for base metals that come with the precious metals, and whether it's concentrate form or you find another way to extract, that's certainly can become a big percentage. In fact, at ATO and Mung, as you move off trend on ATO 1 and 2, we also have some lead and zinc. So that's why we're actually looking at in our feasibility study for expansion, flotation circuit. And so you might end up with 3 or 4 concentrates that have precious metals, but also the base metals that you can get quite a significant amount of value. And obviously with copper hitting new highs here and just getting started, that's quite interesting. So we will definitely look beyond the precious metals to how to extract value. They could be a very significant part of our revenue stream when you bring these assets online, both for phase 2 for ATO Mung and down in UK. And there are obviously a lot of ways to extract that value. We just need to figure it out. First, we need to see what we have, which could be quite exciting. But base metals could play a larger role. Let's be honest. We can't control the pricing. So if pricing moves and the resource doesn't, that resource could still double in value for us just given on pricing. So certainly a lot of upside, I guess, or optionality coming from some of these base metal opportunities within the precious metal license.
Yeah. Anil, thank you for that detailed snapshot of Steppe Gold, and also thank you for joining us today on this episode of RGN Interviews in Lockdown.
No problem. Thanks again for having me.
Thanks, Anil.
Thank you, Jacob.